He always is the bad guy who gets it in the end. He's out there stopping horses or falling off a train. You never won a gunfight, squabble or a brawl. For being such a loser, Hooper's really got it all. You can toss him, blast him, flip him and turn him, shoot him, hang him, bury and burn him. Chances are Hooper's back for more.
Hello and welcome to Drive and Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan.
I'm Ryan.
And this is the podcast where we talk about 2 movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. And unfortunately, we are on the last week of Burt Reynolds week. And on this Tuesday episode, we're talking about Hooper from 1978, directed by Hal Needham. But before we get into it, we do have a Patreon over at patreon.com/Drive and Double Feature Podcast. Just for $5 a month, you can help us out and help support the show and also get some fun bonus episodes where we play some games over there and talk about new movies, old movies, a lot of just random stuff. But getting into this episode, Hooper, Burt Reynolds plays a stuntman in a movie directed by a stuntman in a movie full of stunts. I loved Hooper. I did. Yeah. I really loved Hooper. This might be one of the best movies that we've done this month.
Wow.
I'm dead serious. Hooper was great.
I was going to joke with you at first, like when we started this episode, but you liked the episode too much. You liked the song too much, but you liked the movie too much. So I was going to start off like, say, is this the greatest movie ever made or what?
It feels like it. Yeah. Hooper's the best movie ever.
But no, I liked it a lot. I've seen Hooper before, but to be honest, like I think I saw it like when I was younger and it just didn't stick in my mind. It's really good.
Yeah, I was really blown away by this one. Like, I mean, you're not going to get anything amazing. We're not talking about like groundbreaking stuff like Deliverance or anything, but it's just really fun and enjoyable. But also, like in the middle of it, it gets kind of serious. It does so much that I never was bored once the whole time. It's just a solid ride. It feels like it. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about Hooper, but it feels like it should be a quintessential, like, this is Burt Reynolds. This is what he did.
Yeah, it's there's not really much of a plot until maybe like the last third of the movie, I want to say. I mean, because it's really just about like an aging stuntman who is just living his life and hanging out, having fun. And then there's like a young up and comer and he's starting to realize how old he is. And he's kind of taking this kid under his wing. So, it's a good time.
It really is. Yeah. It's you kind of just get to chill for a little bit and just watch Burt Reynolds make fake movies. And I guess I just found out this before the podcast. I'll be transparent. He's the stunt double for Adam West, and I guess I didn't realize it was Adam West when I watched the movie for whatever reason. But yeah, no, he's the stunt double for Adam West in like a fake 007 knockoff. And yeah, this movie gets started right with like stunts, and I think this movie is just a good excuse to see a bunch of different things go on, and it's cool.
You know what it kind of reminds me of, like when you go to like the Universal stunt show or like one of those like stunt like show type of things where it's like you just see a bunch of stunts and then it's kind of like what happens in between all that stuff.
Exactly. So, yeah, like the director being like, the camera goes here and we move around this way while we get the right shot. A dumb reveal like, old Skipper, the dog he's holding the dog. What do we do? And he's like, it was fake the whole time. This dog wasn't real, except they do the reverse in this movie.
Yeah, falls on the crash pad. He's okay, folks. No need to worry.
Yeah. No, and that's this movie. Yeah, it's just kind of like you get to see some fun set pieces, but I guess it came from like a real close place because we've talked about Hal Needham before. He's a person that's carried out through a lot of these movies. And yeah, I mean, his stuntman life goes into this. From what I read, Burt Reynolds was a stuntman for a little bit, as well as you get to see some of his stunts from Deliverance in this movie as well, which I find interesting. So, it comes from a place that they know about.
And it's funny too. So I didn't mention this during the Deliverance episode, but John Borman, like, it was just like, oh, when we show that scene from Deliverance, we'll use a dummy and it'll go down the river. And Burt Reynolds was like adamant, like, no, like I want to do this stunt. And so he did it, and then he got injured doing that stunt. And then they he went and talked to John Borman. It's like, oh, how did it look? He's like, it looked like a dummy going down the rapids.
That's funny. And yeah, that's kind of what it looks like when you see it in the movie, when you see him tumble down the rapids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was some like really crazy looking stunts, like the one like just jumping off like this really high building basically and just landing on like a crash pad down below. People get set on fire, lots and lots of car stunts.
Yeah, they do a lot of car stuff. Yeah, and I mean, like, some of my favorite ones was the one we talked about with the dog, where he kind of zip lines, because it goes into like a little bit of the nitty gritty where they shoot a little bit of the actor kind of leaning forward. They say, cut, get him out of there, get Burt Reynolds in. And then he goes down and drops with a dog, holding a live dog. They don't decide not to do a stunt double dog. That's a cool stunt. A little later in the movie, he hops from a helicopter really, really high up in the air. That was really amazing to watch.
That, I think the most impressive one to me was like at the very end, and that's kind of what the whole movie's leading up to. Is they do like a rocket car, which supposedly goes like 300 feet across a ravine or like a riverbed. And I was just kind of, I mean, I didn't really do any research or anything like that. I was just wondering like how they did that though, because that was just like so insane looking.
Yeah, I would love to see some special features for this, some behind the scenes. It's interesting though to ask for that, because it seems like a movie that is pretty transparent with how they did things, but it feels like you could see some more of it. Yeah, no, they do some cool stuff, and I think it does a good job. It is a movie kind of with a loose plot, but it does have like some dramatic draw to it, because Burt Reynolds, in the middle of all this, he kind of has to deal with he might become a quadriplegic. All this work, stunt work, has rendered his back like destroyed, and one last stunt could be the end of it all. And I like that draw. It adds some reality to it, where it's kind of like a fun, just, get together, boys, hang out, do stunts kind of movie. But there's a part in it where he really questions himself and his career and what his future is.
Well, it's kind of funny. Like I said before, it's one of the main stories is a younger stuntman trying to take Burt Reynolds' spot. But they kind of reveal like he's dating Sally Field, of course, is in this one again.
Of course.
And her father was also a stuntman, or is still, but he's kind of like breaking down. He suffers a stroke in the movie, and he tells a story to Burt Reynolds, kind of basically the same story, where he was like, you every time I did a stunt, you had to do one better, you were always showing me up, type of thing, So it was kind of like a mirror where, like, he took the guy's spot, and now Burt Reynolds is going to have to pass that torch on to like the next generation of stuntman. And he even goes on like a little monologue, like towards the end of the movie, where he says like, hey, I'm the last of a generation. There's a new type of stuntman coming around, and I just got to get out of the way, basically.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, because Burt Reynolds had just rose up in popularity like in the middle of this decade, maybe towards the beginning, but only a few years before this. And this feels like a movie that someone would do towards the end of their career, saying like, you know what, I'm at the final stages, it's over, let me pass the torch. And he's
still very much a bankable star. Huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this movie made $78 million. It was a huge hit still. And I mean, he'd go on to make Cannonball Run and movies like that. So he was still a huge star. But it just feels like one of those movies, like, I'm passing the torch to you guys, to this guy who brings a computer to a poker game to calculate his odds. That would never fly anywhere. Never.
I would think like if you're playing like poker with like friends and like somebody just like, oh, hold on, guys, and he just like whips out a calculator, you'd be like, what are you doing?
Get that out of here. What the hell? Yeah, of course, because like it's all about using your mind. But Burt Reynolds uses his mind and he beats that computer. So Burt Reynolds is the first man to beat a computer at poker.
That's true.
That's very true.
It's caught on film, right?
Caught on film. But yeah, no, I really like the whole plot line with the young stuntman, because I feel like a lot of other movies, especially going into the 80s, would paint him as like an evil villain almost, but he's actually a pretty likable guy, and you root for him for the most part because you want him to have a good career, kind of go from there.
No, and it's funny like how he's a really nice guy, but Burt Reynolds just feels like so threatened by him. Like there's the one scene where like the younger guy's got like a really nice car, and then Burt Reynolds takes like his horse over there and like lets his horse just like take a dump all over this guy's car. Yeah. I mean, you don't see it, but it's what's happening. So
yes, yeah. And there's a lot of horse work in this movie. There's a really weird scene with a horse and the Roman guy, the guy in the Roman getup, and he's like Burt Reynolds. He's not wearing shorts, and Burt Reynolds is like looking at his butt.
Yeah, he's like, you got a real nice butt there.
Yeah, weird scene. I thought it was funny. I laughed.
Well, and like they use like a lot of, well, I guess you call it innuendo, where he was like, he's like, what if it falls out, and then all these people are gonna be so mad, and he's like it's not gonna fall out. He's like, yeah, but what if it falls out?
Yeah. Well, and then he was like, all the other stuntmen are gonna be embarrassed. Not like he's gonna be embarrassed.
Well, I think it was kind of funny. Like they're gonna get embarrassed. I'm like, and this was a charity show for children, so this guy is bottomless essentially.
Yeah,
and
you might be arrested, just to let you know. And you'll have to knock on doors and say your name for a long time. That might not be good for your career.
Yeah, no. You never think about those sort of things.
You don't. Speaking of innuendo, a great line in this movie is when he goes to the doctor and the doctor's naming off these medical terms, and he says, well, what about my coccus erectus? Stupid one-off line. Oh yeah,
that was a stupid joke.
Yeah, but then the doctor's like, if you just let go of it for a minute.
Just don't play with it while I'm talking to you or something like that.
Yeah, no, and I think I like that because it shows that Burt Reynolds he's definitely vulnerable. He's acting like a man, trying to be like, you know what, nothing's going to bother me about this, but really it's him facing the end of his career.
I think that's just kind of like his way of, like coping with it. And like, cause the scene beforehand, he does like a really dangerous stunt where he jumps off a real high flight and lands on like this pad at the bottom. And he's like, oh, hey, see you. And then like he goes to his best friend. He's like, take me to a hospital right now. And the doctor, he's kind of, and he's telling him about like, this is going to be really serious. Like you could die. And like Burt Reynolds is kind of like laughing. So it's kind of like, he's like trying to like register what he's saying, but like not trying to show it. And
yeah. It's kind of like the deal where some people, when they cry, they laugh at the same time. That's how they process those emotions.
Well, no. I just, what I really liked about the moment and the story is that he's kind of playing it up like it's not a big deal or anything like that. And he's like, and he offers to do like the big car stunt at the end of the movie where, they pretty much like, don't do it. You could die from it. And he doesn't think it's any big deal. And he starts lashing out at other people that tries to get him to stop it. And then he has one like vulnerable moment where he's just like, he's out riding his horse at like midnight or it's like pitch black, and Sally Field goes out to like kind of confront him. And that's when there's no words said. They just kind of like stare at each other like real seriously. And like, there's no like big melodramatic scene with him breaking down. You just know he's just kind of like, he's afraid at this point. And this is just kind of like his way of telling her like, I'm afraid, I really don't want to do this. And type of thing. And then the very next scene, he's like, he's not going to do the stunt.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really, it's great. It's great. Like it's so surprising because it could be so jarring in any other movie to kind of take that dramatic moment, but it really works with the movie. It really works with the flow of it. It really breaks that up. And yeah, I mean, that's when he says he's not going to do a big stunt, this huge stunt with like a rocket car jumping over a giant canyon, which the young up and comer, he is the one who proposes this, but Burt Reynolds has to do it. It's a two-man job, otherwise it's going to be really deadly. And yeah, there's this director that's directing this movie, which I guess is modeled off of Peter Bogdanovich for some reason. Yeah, that's who they said they was modeled after. But Peter Bogdanovich, did he direct any movies like giant earthquake disaster movies?
Well, I don't think so, but I mean, he has directed Burt Reynolds before.
Yes, he has. So, yeah.
So maybe that was his experience on set. I don't know, but Burt Reynolds was like in a musical with him, so I don't imagine it was like this big, like dangerous movie to do. But
yeah,
so I have no clue.
Yeah, I don't know, but this director is pretty funny because he loves movies. He cares a lot about movies. They say it's just a movie, and that takes him over the edge. He's like, call up the producers, call them up, tell them that this is just a movie, because they literally like move the whole movie shoot and everything around this canyon stunt. This like 10-second canyon stunt.
So my only complaint about the movie, or like my only major gripe, is like towards leading up to that, there's like an older movie producer type of character.
Yeah.
That's there, and he's adamant like we shouldn't do the stunt. This is going to be super dangerous. And then Burt Reynolds is kind of like, I'm not doing it. I don't care how much money you're going to give me. And they're like, all right, you're through. Like, and then like the very next scene, like we're not that much further after, like the same movie producer's like, you got to do the stunt.
Yeah. I felt the same way, because that guy, he's like really supportive, because he was even like, he doesn't do the shoot unless I say so. Or no, sorry, he doesn't leave the movie unless I say so, or Hooper says so. He's even like, if Hooper says he wants to leave, he can leave. I'm not keeping him here. And then he's like all over him. Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I do think there was a weird change of heart there.
Yeah, and then so Burt Reynolds does agree to do the stunt at the end, and he's pretty much prepared to like die at this point.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a cool scene though, because they're revved up.
It's a great scene. Yeah.
Even his partner there is iffy, because he's like, I don't know if we're gonna make it. The things weren't working out. Burt Reynolds is like, your life is worth $50,000, because that's what this stunt is for.
Well, that's at the end of because they get there, and right at the edge of the ramp, like the younger guy's like, we don't have enough pressure. Like we shouldn't do this. And then he's just like, what are you talking about? Like, just go. And he's just like, all right,
let's do it. It's the stunt man way. But yeah, no. And like, they're talking about like how many G's they're going to hit if they don't land on their tires. And the way they land this car off of this stunt, it looks like it was on the verge of flipping. Like it kind of lands like crooked on its side, rather than like you would imagine a car actually landing. I'm sure this stunt, if you were to look into it, was probably a really dangerous stunt.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know how they did it, because I mean, it's not like they could do CGI back then. And then, I mean, because there clearly was a car in midair launch, and it had a trajectory level where I don't know if it would have made it, because there are two cuts in that scene where it's like the car hits the ramp and then it's like shooting across, and then does like a cut and then lands on like perfectly. So
yeah,
probably I'm guessing what they did is they did it like a much longer shot, and they're just like, it's gonna fall in the river, and it fell. And then like they did the next one with like a double or something with like a shorter ramp, maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure there is editing trickery there, but my movie watching mind put it all together, and I was like, "Whoa,
it's still real to me, damn it!"
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? At the end of the day, Burt Reynolds survives. He isn't a quadriplegic. He doesn't die after that one. But I'm pretty sure, with the way him and Sally Field talk, that was the end. That was it for his stuntman career.
I hope so. I just want him to be happy.
Me too. I want him to be happy in Hooper too. Hoop to hoop. That I don't know.
Hooper part 2.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. To say they go into like Sally Field's father, who is also a stuntman. They kind of show like the effect of somebody who wouldn't stop doing stunts and would just keep going. And he ends up having a stroke at one point, and that's another really sad part of this movie.
Yeah. And because they say too, like that character was actually based off of another really famous stuntman called Jock Mahoney, I think, which was like Sally Field's stepdad, I think.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
And it was kind of like a tribute to that, and just kind of like this old stuntman, but he was still like in the 70s, just out there tearing it up. So
yeah, because he more worked with like horses and falling off of horses. Jay, I don't know, that's awesome. Stuntmen keeping up work.
Probably my favorite scene in the whole movie, though, is the bar scene. Mm-hmm. I really like that one because there's like these big football player looking guys that are like, I guess they're SWAT guys, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't keep him as, because one of them's Terry Bradshaw, and it's like obviously he's a football player, so I don't. And they're SWAT team, or they just SWAT and fly, is one of the people that eggs them on says.
They see like these big brutish looking guys, and they at one point he punches him really hard in the face, and they're like, "Oh, I think we might be in trouble." And then he pulls out his tooth, and it's like, "Oh, I think we're in a lot of trouble." Because the guy's just smiling because he like, even though he knocked his tooth out.
Yeah, that's what I liked about this bar fight scene. It's a fun bar fight scene. Everybody seems to be having a good time at the bar fight. Like, it's just like, oh, this is just what we do, you know?
Yeah. Well, they and then the bar's like, all right, you got to get out of here, and they throw them all out the window, and they're like, all right, see you next week or whatever, see you next time. And because even Sally Field's dad was like, he throws himself out. He's like, I've thrown myself out of so many windows. I don't need your help.
Yeah. And there's even a funny bit where Sally Field's eating her dinner during all of this, and she has to like pick up her food, help Burt Reynolds, and she puts it back down to go back to her meal. So there was one other thing too. So like the whole reason this bar fight started is that Terry Bradshaw and his friend were like, I put money in that jukebox, and those guys are talking too loud. Mm-hmm. And I'm just thinking, like, if I go to a bar and I put money in a jukebox, and then there's people like talking, and I can't hear the music, do I have any right to be mad? Yeah, it's a bar, right? Like, I remember I went to a bar to see Back to the Future, right? They were just showing it, and I was like, okay, I'll go see that. But it was so loud in there, I couldn't hear the movie. And I wasn't going to be like, I can't hear the movie I came here to see, and then threw people out the window. I just left.
You started chucking people out the window.
Marty McFly did in Back to the Future 3. I think he does that at some point. I think he throws someone out a window in that movie.
That's right. Cafe 80s.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to talk about this movie a little bit, honestly, just because there's not really like any forward momentum plot that propels it. It's just kind of like a slice of life, kind of, where it's just like stuntman living their lives and working, and then, like I said, then towards like the last 30 minutes or so, they kind of revealed the plot, and then I think it's a really good movie. I thought everybody did really well. There's a lot of great looking stunts, and personally, I would recommend this one.
I would too. I totally agree. It's a very chill, just kind of hangout movie, and I really appreciate that. It reminds me of Richard Linklater would make, kind of like you chill out, like a hangout movie, but then like something really kicks in. I wouldn't be surprised if he was somehow inspired by this movie, and I really say check it out. It's streaming on Prime. It's worth your time. It really is.
One thing I did want to kind of ask you at this point, though, is do you have any other favorite stunts in a movie, or is there any stunts from anything that stand out that I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but
yeah, I can't, nothing comes to mind as of right now. Of course, I'm drawing a blank right now. What about you? Do you have any cool stunts that you're thinking of?
Well, like the whole reason I thought of this was because I was reading, like, because they in the movie they make a big deal about like this stunt, like the rocket car is going to cost $100,000 to do, like the paycheck that they're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked up what's the most expensive stunt from a movie.
Okay.
And it was a movie I had seen, and it's actually from the movie Cliffhanger.
Oh, really? Wow. And that's still the most expensive stunt?
Yeah. So it's these two jets, and there's a zip line attached to them, and there's a guy without any protection, without any harness or anything like that, just gets onto a zip line and zip lines from one plane to the other midair. This is not faked in any sort of way. No green screen, no CGI. It's just a guy like 50,000 feet in the air, just zip lining.
Yeah, that's incredible. I've seen that movie, but I do not really remember it. I remember it not being good, but that stunt sounds awesome.
He got paid $1 million to do that one.
$1 million. Nice. That's good. I feel like he maybe should have been paid more for ziplining between two jets.
Well, they just said like there were so many different factors that could have gone wrong. Like if they went too fast, like the line would have snapped, or if they went too slow, he would have had too much slack and fallen. So
the pilots must have been sweating bullets.
The pilots? What about the stuntman?
Yeah. No, the stuntman, he's used to it.
Another day.
But no, if I think about stunts, the first thing I think of is Blues Brothers when they drive through the mall. I think that is incredible, or just the car crash scene. But I think that's just because that's in a comedy and they do such an insane like car pile up thing. Or Tom Cruise stunts in any of the Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah,
he absolutely kills it.
Well, I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Jackie Chan at least once.
Who?
What?
Yeah, no, we've covered Jackie Chan. I can't do that joke.
No, so I mean, he has done some really outrageous stuff. We talked about it a lot on our Police Story episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I had another one too I'd like to say is probably Death Proof, where Zoe Bell's like on the hood of the car like as it's speeding, and that's like that's a crazy looking stunt. So just I don't know, I remember it in the moment, but like it's hard to think of like a list.
Yeah, no, it's hard to think of a list, but there's a lot of people doing great work out there. Speaking of Jackie Chan, he does a lot of blooper reels in his end credits, right? And this movie has bloopers at its end credits. Actually, this is one of the first movies to do that, which I think is really cool, like a stunt blooper.
What year did this movie come out again?
1978.
Because I remember like they made like a big deal about the movie being there in 1979 having a blooper reel.
Yeah, but Hal Needham was on the cutting edge, right?
That was Hal Ashby.
Yeah, Hal's got something going on, huh?
Yeah,
but no, you're right. I forgot Being There had a blooper reel. But no, I mean that became a Hal Needham staple actually, because Smokey 2, Stoker, Ace, and Cannonball, all the Cannonball runs have blooper reels. And then Pixar did it too. So
I know
that. Yeah. But no, this movie really great. Great stuff. Great ode to stunt. I feel like I didn't give enough stunt double love. So I'm going to be thinking of some good stunts to talk about.
Well, on a serious note, I think stunt work is probably like one of the most underappreciated things in Hollywood. It never really gets its due justice, and especially at the Academy Awards, which is pretty disgraceful. Like, it just doesn't.
Yeah, because they're a whole part of the industry. They're actually a huge part of the industry, and they've been campaigning to put like a stunt category in the Oscars, and for some reason they've been so against it. I mean, right now they're just trying to take out categories at this point, so I don't think that'll ever get added.
Speaking of the Academy Awards, this movie was nominated for an Academy Award.
Nice. What for?
Best Picture? No. This was nominated for Best Sound.
Best Sound? Okay, I get it. I could see it. Some kind of technical award.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Not Burt Reynolds for Best Actor.
No, he'd have to wait. He'd have to wait a little while.
But I think he's great in this, so definitely check it out.
I was just looking to see what did win that year.
1970.
Oh, do you want to take a guess?
No, go ahead.
Lost to Deer Hunter.
Oh, that's right. That makes sense. I think Deer Hunter won a lot of awards that year, except no acting awards. I think that's the year Richard Dreyfuss beat.
No, wait. No, Christopher Walken won Best Supporting Actor.
Well, yeah, he won for that, but Robert De Niro lost.
Oh, De Niro. Sorry.
Yeah. I guess it didn't lose all its acting awards. And then, I don't think any women were nominated in that movie.
Yeah, Meryl Streep was nominated.
She's such a bit part in that movie.
She's in the movie. She gets nominated. That's
I said
rule.
that, and I was like, yeah, it's Meryl Streep. What am I talking about? She was nominated for The Iron Lady, and no one saw that movie. I'm saying it right now. She
won for The Iron Lady.
That's right. She won for The Iron Lady, and nobody saw that movie. But no, we're getting off track here.
Save that for the Patreon episode.
Yeah, for the or when we cover Iron Lady here on Drive and Double Feature Podcast.
I can't wait.
Yeah, can't wait. But Ryan, I think that covers it for Hooper.
I think so.
Yeah, but what are we going to be covering on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, unfortunately, we did have to call an audible. We were gonna do Cannonball Run, but it is not available anywhere on any digital platform, legally or otherwise.
Yeah, really sad that movie's just like lost, an extremely popular movie.
Yeah, and we had to do this recording at the last minute, so we didn't have time to get DVDs or anything like that. So, but there is one Burt Reynolds movie that you and I have both seen that is part of our childhood, and that is All Dogs Go to Heaven, which is available on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, it's available on like Prime, I think a Tubi, Criterion Collection right now, or Criterion Channel right now, actually.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, really. I was surprised to see that. Hint, maybe something's happening. But yeah, no. If you haven't seen it already, check it out for the next episode.
Yeah.
But if you want to send us an email us over at driveindoublefeaturepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Also, follow us over on Twitter at DIDFpod. You can follow that for new episodes or tweet at us if you want. But until next time.
He looked you in the eye and tell you with a smile there ain't nothing like the life of a Hollywood stuntman. He looked you in the eye and tell you with a smile there ain't nothing like the life, nothing like the life. There ain't nothing like the life of a Hollywood stuntman.